Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wait, what's this?
3,
announcement coming
2,
soon?
yellow.
5,
1.
4, 3, 2. Welcome to the Big Announcement Coming Soon podcast. I'm one of your many hosts, Michael Bull, joined by the usual gang of Nick Garvin, David Collette, and Jeff Renson. Now, we started the show a little bit late, so I had to do a really quick introduction today. Can't talk too long, but we're going to jump right off and talk about Do Kwon hanging out, what was it, Montenegro?
Hit it.
I just wanted to let you know, jail's not that bad. It sucks, but it's not the worst thing ever. So don't fret if that. I hope it doesn't happen, but if it does happen, it's not that bad.
Good to know.
Sam.
Oops, somebody had a fake passport. Wasn't he the guy that said, I'm not trying to be a fugitive, but was one anyway? If you're not familiar with Do Kwon, he's the one who blew up Terra Labs, and all of us lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. So he looks like he's going to be extradited. Both the U.S. and South Korea want to grab him, but first he's got to deal with those charges of fake documents, fake passport type stuff. In
Chilean
the
passport.
country of which he was it Chilean?
I think
In which
Chilean
he was
or-
arrested.
Yeah.
Costa Rican, right?
Or
Also,
Costa Rican. Yeah, sorry, Costa Rican.
Yeah.
They're kind of making fun of not too many Costa Ricans look this way, so people are going to nab him at a line and question it. But
That's a good point. What was he thinking? He could have done Peru at least, because there's a lot of Asians in Peru. We got a lot of
All about
Asians there.
extradition. I think Peru's will extradite you. Costa Rica won't.
But
he was
let's
trying
say
to
that because Montenegro extradited him. He went to a country for a conference and got extradited. He could have stayed in Dubai, Bali, like the places that where Kyle is and who knows where Sue is.
But
He put himself in
Dubai.
danger to go to a I think Kyle's in Dubai. All those Bali pictures are a scam. To go do a dev thing. He
Why?
kept on because he's a developer at heart, and this was all
I
a big
think-
mistake.
I just want to be with my peeps.
I just want to say this was like a really dumb way to get caught, but it brings me back to maybe he really did mess up trying to do good things. I don't know where the Terra money Bitcoin or the Lulu
another
Foundation
altruist.
Bitcoin went, if that was the how much he actually scammed versus how much he had a project that screwed up, because he should have been running, not developing. And this isn't the only thing. I've seen other people in comments say he keeps on writing commits for the Terra ecosystem on Git, so he's still helping it. But that's what.
Well, we all
is
have
the
our own
balance
self-delusion.
between- He's
I
got
guess.
two wolves inside of him, but both.
we
wolves
call
are
them
probably gonna be in
community
jail.
members.
Yeah, I guess we all have our own delusions. I still think I'm cool, but
You might be cool. Who
I'm
knows?
getting the bumper sticker that says I used to be cool.
But I mean, I think this is a really interesting point. If you think about it, the
That I'm
people
cool?
who got that too.
Yeah.
Less
But
interesting,
first things
also-
first. Yeah.
Yeah.
First things first. Go ahead.
But the people who got caught who are arrested in the Bahamas with no extradition treaty, SBF didn't run, got arrested, now he's in the States. And then also Do Kwon, he did kind of run, but I guess not very smartly. But either way, it's almost like the people who are getting caught and haven't really thought their escape plan through are the ones who are truly mentally committed to their cause, even if it is tragic and they don't realize it. So I'm sure SBF continues to think he's the good guy, Robin Hood, hero character,
Yeah.
as does Do Kwon. And so it's almost irrespective of, they believe that they're fighting the good fight. And so
Is this the opposite
weird
of
behavior
victim?
because
Is this the opposite of victim blaming? It's like victim coveting or something.
It's like
But he's-
Stockholm syndrome, and it's a bit.
We live in a
it's-
That's it. David's in Stockholm syndrome.
Well,
Got it.
I know it's all
Yeah,
just
it's a-
relative,
David.
right? People's views of themselves versus reality, and everything is different. But then relative morals and relative laws of, what did I do wrong? I think it's pretty clear what SBF did. I think there's a lot of cloudiness about what Do Kwon did. But what David's saying is they didn't go into this knowing they were doing something wrong. On the inside, at the end of the day, they think no, this is the right thing. I tried to help people, versus people who just scammed money and were it was stealing, but whatever.
So
I think at the end of the day,
just
they don't really feel like they did it.
was it like I built a business and it just collapsed?
And I'm not
Well,
advocating
kind
for
of.
them. I'm just saying, yeah.
No, I'm just curious. We could look at it that way potentially. Depends
I
on
would
what
say
happened
yes
along the way.
in a way, like, but it's not. That's almost like it's almost like a weird state of ethics we live in now, where it's like
Mm.
in the past, if you built a business and it failed, like that was the risk, and everyone knew what was going on. Now we live in a world where it's like you build a business, you hype it up to the world, and you say this is going to change the absolute everything. If you're not in it, you're an actual idiot. Like, and you sell it to them at such a ramped up speed. And almost like, ever since we were in college, like you had like move fast and break stuff was the mantra of like Facebook, right? And so like this mentality of essentially screw it all, like if as long as you like eventually make good, you're okay making bad in the beginning is kind of pervasive. And so it's almost like if you can get away from it and get away with it and defend it, that's correct rather than doing the correct thing. And that's almost like a departure we've had in society. And now we're having all these crazy situations where it's like, did he do anything wrong? By olden day standards, absolutely. By new day standards, I don't know. Like, did Trump do anything wrong? I don't know. Just does anyone care? Like,
Like it's
weird.
okay
Like,
to
we
try
live
to
in a
overthrow
world
the
of
government. Yeah.
like we
It's
live
all
in a world
relative.
of
Yeah.
shamelessness. Yeah, shamelessness is like kind of
Only
like
if we allow it. We don't. We
Absolutely.
live in a world of shamelessness if we say we live in a world of shamelessness. So
Sure,
don't perpetuate it, David. Show some
No,
backbone.
I agree. For sure. I wouldn't vote for Boris Johnson because that guy like needs to do his hair more correctly, right?
There we
He
go.
deliberately does that so he looks silly on purpose. That's the world we live in. Why?
I'm glad you have some standards. Speaking of somebody who has standards, let's go talk about NFTs because Nick is there and wants to share about the universe and metaverse and all those things. And he's all excited about Nicosia University, which he's been excited about before.
Yeah, I mean, like, so we're just kind of coming upon exam week in the University of Nicosia's metaverse course, which
Shouldn't
was,
you be studying now instead of talking about studying?
no. I already
Oh.
like got airdropped the cheat code.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. Go on.
But what's neat is that the certificates are verified on the blockchain, so it is showing a different way of distributing and verifying credentials, which is something that I think universities are going to struggle with, like moving forward, especially if you have another COVID or you have another disruption that like doesn't allow people in like let's say like high school or DP like to take exams. So what this was displaying is that you could verify things and actually with university onboarding you can get credentials that are trusted on the blockchain, and that's neat, right? It's beyond the cartoon photos that we talked about. A lot of the course was about like proof of work and using the course and using wallets and using and understanding the importance of self-custody while learning, right? The theory behind the practice. But I think like really what it comes down to is that like although this is ending, it is the first one. It will probably build to many more. Education seems to be the way forward to get people onboarded, right? Right now, the NFT market, it's the same as last week, right? It's just a bunch of people circling money around. I don't think there's new users coming in. We're in a closed circuit space, and it's just like where's the ball under which cup, right? And you see that with groups and different PFP projects. So I can't really tell you like where we're going with it. I can just say that there's no new users in this space right now, given the conditions of the market. Hopefully with some education and some understanding of like how NFTs are beyond just like a picture, we'll be able to like find more users through different use cases.
Do you think we're going to get users from a crypto bull run, or is it going to be an NFT thing where like, I know Amazon's jumping on NFTs, different stuff is happening. So do you think it's going to be like we've talked about before, that funneling of normie to NFT or normie to Bitcoin to shitcoin to NFT?
I think it's going to be through. I think I look at like a couple things, right? Like last year, right at the peak, or 2 years ago, peak at the bull market, Portugal the Man, a pretty cool indie band that I like, was releasing Portugal the Man coin, and just recently Rob Paul from Real Vision is releasing Real Vision Collection coin. So I think the bridge is going to be community tokens, whether that's the Medici token or whether that's Jeff and Nick's Rusted Bandit token that we're trying to do. But I think you're going to have to see how.
But you're saying like a Web 2 or a real life community coming on board as a community.
Yeah, that's the only way I think it's going to onboard successfully. I think
it's interesting what you're. No, you go, Mike.
Just quickly, I think it's just mostly like as soon as Bitcoin goes up, which it is 70% up so far this year. Good job, David. All the rest of the stuff just follows. People just want to get in and make cash and get out. You got the few true believers like Do Kwon and Nick, but
But I think Nick's got a point. Like with Ticketmaster and their ticketing thing this week, and Avenged Sevenfold's gotten a lot of attention. They've been doing this for a long time, building this community. Sorry, building their online community from their fan base, and some of it filtered over from NFTs, most of it built from the fan base. But they brought a large number of their fan base online, and I think that's going to happen, especially with this Ticketmaster ticketing thing. As people realize you can get in touch with your fans through dropping cheaper NFTs as like a club community. It doesn't always have to be a way to raise the floor and make money. It can just be a way to interact, and you're bringing the fans with you, like Nick is saying. Like all at once, they get a wallet because of the concert, not because of ETH or Bitcoin.
Let's remember, like, people don't like Gary Vee because he's an artist who draws ducks with like a minimalist piece of work, right? Like they like him because they can go to VCon, which is happening this weekend. They like him because they get a chance to meet him. This is the new way of, like, I don't know, like, it's very strange because, like, we used to do this as kids, Jeff. I don't know if you remember, but, like, I used to go to, like, baseball games and, like, line up to, like, meet Albert Bell and Kenny Lofton and Omar Vizquel and, like, get their ball signed, right? Like, it's like that again, but it's flexing in a digital world, right? Which is the same cult, same community, but already pivoted to a different world, like Web3.
I mean, to come back to being like super boring about it, like you were talking about universities, like, man, have you ever tried to get your transcript resent to you? Like that thing is ridiculous. Like you got to write the university and pay like $50 and like all sorts of craziness, including anything to do with like, checking grades or whatever it is. Like every university student can onboard to MetaMask, right? A lot of them will already be there. Why wouldn't you just put those all on the blockchain? Like instead of all the paper you're printing, instead of like you have when you send your transcript in, it's got to be like signed across the tape. Yeah. Like this is the security we use.
Like,
they changed third-party providers because as we've moved jobs, especially overseas, I'm like, I need 2 transcripts sent to Pakistan, and they're like, what?
Yeah, exactly right.
And then they're like, well, you have to call this third-party company. Because we've switched again, so I would do things like get 10 sent, all signed and sealed. But yeah, it's a ridiculous old system. This fixes it.
No, it's all about trust, and you do have the ledger, which you can use as trust. But how could that be more trustworthy than tape?
Well, as long as it's duct tape, but they don't always use duct tape.
Right. Accessibility more that puts less barriers at having tape versus getting into the whole Bitcoin thing.
Hold on, I own tape, and I don't want to get in trouble for owning a security. Like I have duct tape, I have clear tape. Don't push it, Mike. I'm gonna be.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Don't sell your tape, or if you do, report it.
Did. Yeah. Texas. And 99 on tapes.
All right. Should we move on to Adam Cochran's talking about all the exciting lawsuits that's going on to Binance? Is it going to blow up? Bitcoin is rising, so apparently the market doesn't think it will.
I think I think that's a little bit separate. I think the Bitcoin price and the world events, but. Yeah, Binance US is going to be dead. Binance International will be harder because it's not based in the US and technically it's not based anywhere, which has been part of CZ's strategy. I think Binance.com lives, but I think Binance US will be gone. I mean, kind of like Sam doing stupid things because they could have just taken the fees, right, from international traders and then had Binance US and just taken the fees. And by doing things like weak KYC, letting U.S. traders trade on the international leverage platform and things, they're breaking U.S. laws, making money from it, talking openly about it. And I always bring it back to like, just don't. Like, you guys were making tons of money without doing this.
Good point.
But more importantly,
like, it's also,
go ahead, Nick. Yeah.
No, let's also remember, like, I mean, we were both around when Binance like had its meteoric rise. I'm not sure anyone else has been able, besides an anonymous stablecoin, right? I'm not sure anyone else has been able to weather the storm as much as CZ. And like we were there when Binance or BNB were like $2, right? Like a coin. So yeah, like it was. It's interesting to see that like we're expecting all of this now, and the same thing that like Brian Armstrong talks about, and other people who have received these like reactive letters from the SEC or some sort of lawsuit or rumor. It's like, just tell us what we need to know before.
That's my next point, though. You just said the SEC went after Coinbase. The CFTC went after Binance as these things are commodities. We regulate these. The SEC went after Coinbase and said these things are securities. We regulate these. So what the SEC didn't do is talk to the CFTC and say, what are these? So the government disagrees. Brian Armstrong's been saying that for years. Jesse from Powell from Kraken has been saying that for years, that they can't get clear
Right.
guidance. And here with two opposing lawsuits, it's clear they don't have guidance of what these things are, what rules they violate. I mean, I think, and that's the interesting part is CZ will go down with the Department of Justice going after him because they're laundering money for Hamas, knowing Hamas is trading on there.
Oops.
Yeah, not a good move. But the CFTC and the SEC still need to decide who gets to sue who over what, because what are these things?
Right.
And I have my thoughts on what everything is, but more importantly, exchanges say they've asked, the government says we've told you, and then the government contradicts itself, and you're like, well, how do we go forward in this world? They're holding us back.
Well, as they do in porn, as they do in weed and these other industries. It's a type of tactic. Essentially, if you're not ready to make laws, then I guess that this is the way they do it. But
yeah, keep it
I
vague.
agree. I mean, this is really very similar.
You just brought my last point is NASDAQ and Fidelity are here, though. So are they jumping in to cut down the competition to let their friends take over the markets and collect the fees? And now, where are we headed there?
Yeah, you could say that, possibly. Also, their friends are also following all the rules versus, dealing with Hamas. So, like, it's a bit of a dead to right situation.
I'm supporting Coinbase, not Binance's moves there.
Oh, yeah, totally. Well, exactly. Like Coinbase, I don't know the case, so I'd have to look at it like when it comes out. But I think this is a dangerous thing for SEC to do against Coinbase because I think they don't have a case. I think they're going to lose. But this reminds me a lot.
That's fine. Then we'll have some least guidance.
At least we
exactly.
We have a stance. Yeah, we just don't know. No one knows where anyone stands. That's the thing, right? We just need.
But on Binance, I don't think we should be confused. Like Binance is more like BitMEX, where Arthur Hayes went to jail and like he was very clearly trading against his traders. It would appear that CZ was doing some of that as well. Like, I mean, like Nick was saying, when Binance started, it was like it was like they built like Apple, right? Like it was. I'm sure back in the days of Apple, a whole bunch of shady shit happened too, because it was just like, holy crap, everybody's joining ours. They had to shut down people joining the exchange because too many people were joining. There was all sorts of crazy stuff happening. So, not like I'm saying that it's defensible to do that, but at the same time, like, Signal messages from 2019 will get you in trouble, but what you need to see is what Binance is doing since 2020 when they implemented all the strict KYC and everything was good. The CFTC has said that actually we had to do this right now because of ongoing fraud. And that's the question. Like, what is the said ongoing fraud? And if it's bad, then yeah, I don't know, that depends. But I don't see Binance going down. Yeah, of course, it's a useful asset. It might just be severely restricted on what it can sell and change name, or I don't know. Maybe not.
Binance US, you think, survives and moves around?
Yeah, I think that's.
It gets sold to somebody. Yeah,
like Coinbase.
Yeah, exactly. Like why you would probably want to change the name because now Binance name is not great, so you just call it like Robinhood Crypto.
Yeah, and I think let's make sure we're drawing. There's two different issues here. There's did CZ do stuff that breaks moral and legal laws and ethical laws,
right? And
then did the CFTC, if they went after him while the SEC is going after other people for similar, not crimes, for similar, like they're dealing in the same stuff, that's the part where it gets confusing, where CZ puts, like, should the CFTC have done this, is not was Binance wrong? It's well, shouldn't the SEC have gone after him?
Right.
Like that's what they got to sort.
So is he going to jail?
No, because he's not going to enter America. That's the interesting point as well, right? Arthur Hayes, American, SBF, American, all these other people are American. So yes, they could go to jail. But CZ could go to jail if he comes to America, but he's in Dubai. He's not going, and he's from Canada and maybe China. I'm not sure. I think he's straight Canadian, firstborn. So
he'll just hang out.
Yeah, exactly. He'll stay there,
or get a Costa Rican passport.
Yeah. For a while.
For Bali.
Maybe not the best market right now. Yeah.
All right. So speaking of the web of the world reaching out and grabbing all these bad guys, we've got The Spider's Web, Britain's Second Empire. It's a film. We don't often have a documentary film posted in the links here, Jeff. So tell us about this film as an
Ask me, actually.
Oh, sorry. Well, I just offhand was saying that, Jeff. And David,
But
No,
you
yeah,
do it,
well,
Jeff.
then-
I should know that
well,
because
Jeff
Jeff
watched it as well. Yeah,
Yes.
it's I've watched last time
You've been on a roll with films.
films, yeah. So films
Yeah.
are all good.
Need
So
it.
The Spider's Web is great. Like you should
By
definitely
the way,
watch
anybody
it
get
if
that
you-
joke? But go on.
Nobody got it.
Because we don't use film rolls anymore, Mike. Why do you
Okay.
did that?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I got
So
it.
anyway,
Great
the
joke.
Spider's Web
you.
is about the British. It's called Spider's Web, Britain's Second Empire. It's pretty complex, but essentially the name of the game is that when Britain lost its first empire, the big one that covered all the world and stuff, you better know that they weren't going down without taking what they could. And so what they did take was, or what they installed was the British banking system through all of the world. So that's why you have Cayman Islands with British banking system. That's why you have India. And so everywhere in the world started to become, it was like the most trusted way to do banking because it was controlled by the Bank of or the City of London. And that's the first interesting thing. Like the City of London is different than London itself. And it's its own little, it's like Washington, D.C. in a way, in the middle of London, and it's not controlled by voted in people. It's controlled by the biggest, most powerful, what turns out to be banks, but other large companies.
Still today, or you're talking historically?
No,
Still today.
Yeah.
Wow.
Geographical region. And it does not answer to the British government. It even advises to them, but it is not answerable to them. So through this kind of essentially like large private banking cartel, if you will, or large, I mean, just imagine if you're like Carlyle Group in America would be kind of an example of this. They have essentially managed to funnel just huge quantities of money into what are called privacy or secrecy havens or secrecy places, where essentially you can set up shell companies in Cayman Islands, in Jersey, and all these other places, British Virgin Islands, that does all the shady stuff. And then this, homeland, like the City of London, can't, be associated with them. And there's just these crazy colonies over here doing this stuff. But this is just where they do their business. And so you look at, for example, it gives you a nice quote where it's like, how is it possible that the Cayman Islands has 60,000 people living on it, and yet a $1.8 trillion of banking that's known on the island? And so it's kind of like, whose money is that? Who's getting taxed on that? It's very clearly there. And then stuff like the Panama Papers came out, and that was very clearly just pointing exactly to this. And it exists. It's just kind of accepted in the world that all this money is siphoned off. And you start to see that. So like when you start to look at like the global financial movements of money and what's happening, you have to think about the fact there's a whole bunch of dark money out there off in these, secrecy havens that are doing different things. And one of the really kind of, where it kind of gets you a lot is, if you look at Africa as a continent, this is an older documentary, but it was like saying Africa is on paper in debt to the world like $200 billion, but the actual output of Africa is $1.2 trillion, $1 trillion. And so $800 billion of Africa's wealth has been siphoned off through corrupt, dictator leaders into these privacy havens that are sitting offshore in Cayman and whatever. Mm-hmm. And so in a way, if you think about it, it's the same thing as colonialization. You're just sucking money out of these countries through these other methods. They're just not doing it
with nobody you can really
anymore.
go after. Yeah, in the same way. It's hard to find the boogeyman. Yeah. Isn't Bono supposed to fix all that, I thought?
Yeah, didn't happen, sadly.
You can find the boogeyman if you walk to that part of London. It says in a little plaque, like, you've entered the City of London, and you go on the tour, and there's nice abbeys, and then all the fancy guys in suits walking around that are immune to British laws about finance, because they do it within that. It's like a 6-block radius or something.
Yeah. Watch it. It's cool. It's interesting because you don't realize, but the City of London controls like 50% of global banking money that's flowing around and through these secrecy agents, because it's just that big. And so that's what you don't really see. You think, oh, little old London, what's going over there? Brexit, whatever. Got nothing to do
David,
with this.
Because I love the historical aspect of it. Like, how did it become the City of London? Like through the documentary, does it explain that?
Yeah, totally. It has in the beginning. Essentially, it was the only part of London in 1066 that wasn't conquered by William the Conqueror, whoever it was, and so it preserved its independence, that inner part of the city. And so as it became England again, or UK, then it preserved its autonomy in these super archaic things. So you have like Lord Mayor and all these other like different roles of
But then it parlayed because the banking was there, right, against the crown, especially. I'm trying to remember the documentary. In the changes into Parliament when they got rid of kings, and like they held debt there against the kings, and they would transfer it against the Commonwealth and against Parliament, and they kept controlling the finances over time to keep maintaining and you're not going to take away our special status because you can't do anything because we hold all your then you couldn't pay the soldiers who were going to come to get us.
That's like the cloud storage.
Yeah, probably. And they sponsor all the politicians as well. Like you look at like David Cameron, like his dad was found in the Panama Papers, and so he has all this money overseas. Like so, the royals, like Charles and all them do it as well. So it's like once you get up that high and everybody's doing it, like it becomes just accepted second colonialism, if you will, and there's no way to really stop it because everybody's doing it.
But the way that you explained it was really interesting. Like, I don't know if it's as fragile as it sounds like in the documentary, but like, yeah, it's like they just colonized a bunch of like pinpoints or pain points on a map or on their trajectory home, and they said, you're using this money now. And we can easily scale differently now. We don't have to do it in ships or crusades or door to door, like so I think like that's a plus because it is fragile. It literally was just like,
but it's a great system. I don't think it's fragile. I think it works well for the people it works for. The people who pass laws are the ones keeping the money in the Caymans and not paying taxes, and it works for them.
Sure.
What happened is they tried this, the Bahamas. This is why we should have known about, Sam Bankman-Fried moving to the Bahamas, is that Bahamas tried to do this. They moved away from the British system and basically just got dumped, and like Cayman became the huge place. And so it's almost like you can try that if you're a little colony and you can go back to being a bywater, or you can be this like massive economic hub and you just buy. There's 60,000 people in Cayman. Like you just give them a bunch of money.
Well, and that you said 1.6 trillion in banking they have there is bigger than the current is bigger than the current crypto market cap. And the market cap really, if everyone starts selling, is a lot lower, and really we should look at that. Bitcoin market cap is a lot lower. So thank God we're paying attention to people sending $600 Venmo transactions and on the blockchain, because like there's an established money laundering
but they're not the ones in charge
huge, and we know about it and we're cool with it.
Most importantly, it shows how money wants to flee into weird assets. Like, so these are people who are trying to avoid tax in the trillions of dollars by moving them to these different jurisdictions. And so, like, I'm not saying that the Bitcoin solves for this. It's a public ledger. Everyone can see your money. But it definitely shows that there's games afoot in the system that aren't seen that kind of are much larger than the system itself. It turns out all that money we printed just kind of goes and sits offshore in the Caymans. So,
and is it a problem that we want to solve? Because we can vote for people, but if you're voting for two people who both have money in the Caymans, why would you resolve that issue? It's not an issue for people who have money.
Well, yeah, this is exactly how the tycoons of the past, Rockefeller and Carnegie and everything happened, right? And then eventually you need a massive revolution to throw them out, but that's not quick.
All right. Speaking of revolution, let's see how Bitcoin is doing. That doesn't relate at all, but it's at 28. Certainly not a revolution in price spike compared to last week. All of the S&P is up right now as well. So maybe Bitcoin will go up. People are tossing around 36,000 as the next target for it. That's when I bought in a couple of years ago. So that'd be nice.
Yeah. 32 again. 36 after that. But 32
and $1 XRP for hell. Why not?
Yeah. XRP holders in euphoria at the moment after 5 years of accumulation. You guys deserve it. Hit it up, man. Let's go to 589.
My 2018 buys are all in profit now.
So what's it going to be next week? We're 28 now. What's it going to be next week?
That's conviction.
I thought we predicted 32. A little higher than 32. Okay.
30, 32. I think I like 32.
And what's pushing it up?
When people buy and other people don't sell.
Clearly.
Yeah. Thank you for the elementary. Is there an article in that?
No.
Maybe a documentary.
There's a big announcement coming soon.
That's right.
Exactly. That's the main one. Well, I would argue it's global liquidity. Global liquidity is increasing, even though America may be like saying that they're decreasing, and we can just debate whether that's happening or not. China's printing money, Japan's printing money, Europe's starting to print more money, and so more money comes into the system. But somewhere exactly it goes into crypto.
All right. It does seem like a safe bet again for those that are newer to it. Like, oh, it's on the rise again. Let me get in on that.
Yeah.
I should have gotten it out at 15, but now it's
money goes up. People like up. It might go to $1 million. That's what they
like
tell
up. Yeah.
All right. As soon as it goes up high, time to sell. So perhaps the crypto winter is over, though it certainly isn't over here in Oregon. So look out the cloudy 30-degree day.
Yeah.
All right. Is that it for the show?
I think so. It was a good show.
Okay.
Had a good time.
We'll be back next week, I believe, with thoughts about crypto
will that be
stuff.
episode 27?
I don't want to announce anything. I think this is 20.
Wait, what's this called? Big announcement coming soon? Yeah. 5, 4, 3.